This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi Glatstein. We're a couple days before the Yom Tov of Shavuos, and what we have today, brand new information, hot off the press. So you're the first audience to hear this, and really unbelievable information. The Gemara tells us in Masechta Shabbos, Darash Rabbi Sinai darshaned, B'shah shekdimu yisrael nasa l'nishma, when Klal Yisrael preceded their acceptance of the Torah with the word nasa before nishma, bo'u shishim riboy shemalachi asharis. 600,000, 60 myriads of heavenly angels came, l'chol echad v'yacham Yisrael, to every Jew, kashru lo shnei kisarim, and gave every Jew 2 crowns. Echad keneged nasa, v'echad keneged nishma. One for nasa and one for nishma. And the first thing we want to discuss is, we've heard this our whole life, what exactly are these crowns? What were they? What were they made out of? Where did they come from? What did it do? Where are they now? What in the world are these crowns? Says the Gemara, V'kivan shechatu Yisrael, and when Klal Yisrael sinned, Yardu Meya ve'esrim ribay, 120 myriads descended. So that means 1.2 million angels came down, Malachi Chavala, angels of destruction, upirkum, and they removed them. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Vayisnatzlu b'nei Yisrael es edya mehar chayret. Klal Yisrael removed their jewelry at Mount Sinai. That's the number 19 in Parshas Kisisa, Parak Lamed Gimel, pasuk Vav. Vayisnatzlu, we were emptied out of our crowns. Okay, this is a well-known Gemara. Kamzi Toras Chaim. Toras Chaim could be found, and I'll tell you more about the Toras Chaim in a bit. Toras Chaim could be found in Masechta Avodah Zarah Daf Beis Amud Beis, and he asked the obvious question: how many malachim were needed to put the crowns on our head? Shishim riboy, 60 myriad, 600,000. So if you need 600,000 malachim to put the crowns on, then you don't need more than 600,000 to take them off. After all, everybody knows, you could have 10 people to build a building. How many people needed to build the Twin Towers? Probably thousands. All you need are a few meshugayim to knock it down. It's always easier to destroy than it is to build. And yet somehow to bring the crowns you needed shishim riboy, right? You have all the kids are working on building something with Lego, and it only takes one kid to knock it down. So why do you need 60 myriads of malachim to put the crowns on? And double that to take it off. By the way, Tosfos there on the spot says, well, Mida Toiva Meruba. Mida Toiva Meruba. Look at number 2. L'chayra kasha. Lama zeh kishetanu aksaram bo shishim riboy. Why, when they put on the crowns, you needed 60 myriads of shaparku bo kiflayim. Okay. We go on to the Gemara in Shabbos on that Pei Zayin. And we know the Ribbanu Shalom wanted, well, before we start with that, if I ask you, what day of the Omer is Sfira? 50th day of the Omer. Why don't we count the 50th day of the Omer? According to some Rishonim, that's Kiddush. Kiddush, Leil Shavuos is the Sfira of the Yom Chamishim. And according to that, you should be Machavein when you make Kiddush, that this is the Sfira for Yom Chamishim. The Rosh says in Psachim, you don't really have to count 50 days. We're off by one. The Torah's off by one. The Torah always rounds off to the nearest, like by Malchus, in the Midbar also, they weren't exactly there 40 years. It's 39 and change, but the Torah rounds off. If I were to ask you though, but what day of the Omer was it? It was the 50th day, right? Wrong. Not true. Shavuos was not the 50th day of the Omer. Shavuos was the 51st day of the Omer. That's why the Magen Avraham, I believe in Siman Tav Tzadi Dalet, asks, why do we celebrate Shavuos on the 50th day if the Torah was given on the 51st day of the Omer? In fact, there's a well-known remez from the Shal Sechuvas Binyan Shloimeh of Rabbi Shloimeh HaKohen Mivilna, who says, we know the Torah was given on 2 occasions, Shavuos and Yom Kippur. We have Luchos Rishonos, Luchos Shniyos. And what's the remez? The remez is in the word Anoichi. Anoichi, Aleph Nun is 51. That's the first time the Torah was given, on the 51st day of the Omer. And Chaf Yud is Yom Kippur. That was the second time the Torah was given. So again, the Torah was not given on the 50th day of the Omer. Why not? Well, the Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos, look at number 3, Yom Echad Hoisif Moshe Midaitai. Moshe added a day on his own. Moshe added a day. The Tanya, we learned in a Brayso, Gimel Dvarim Asa Moshe Midaitai. There are 3 things in history that Moshe did on his own. V'hiskim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ima, and the Rebbeinu Shalom gave him an endorsement. One was Hoisif Yom Echad Midaitai. The Rebbeinu Shalom wanted to give the Torah on the 50th day of the Omer. Moshe Rabbeinu said, let's wait till tomorrow. And another thing he did was he separated from his wife and he broke the luchas. Says the Gemara, why was he Moisef Yom Echad Midaitai? He made a drasha. Rebbeinu Shalom said, V'kidashtem hayoim umachar. So Moshe made a drasha. Hayoim is kamachar. Just like tomorrow is lailoi imai. Just like tomorrow includes the night with it. So to today must include the night. The problem is the night already happened. On that day, the night had already passed. It must be hayoim is not today. Hayoim is tomorrow, and umachar is the next day. Okay. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu was maskim, says Gemara, because Rebbeinu Shalom did not come to Har Sinai until the next day. Now let's just think for a moment. What day of the week did Moshe Rabbeinu push the Torah off to? Shabbos, right? Like the Gemara says, Hakol Moedim de b'Shabbos nitna HaTorah. Everybody agrees the Torah was given on Shabbos. The Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos, the Amid before, Peivav Beis number 4, Udekulei Alma b'Shabbos nitna Torah liYisrael. Everybody agrees that the Torah was given on Shabbos. And the drasha is, it says by Shabbos, Zohar, Esyam HaShabbos. Very good. Oksiv Hasam, Vayomer, Moshe El Ha'am, Zohar. As it says Zohar by both, just like Shabbos is B'Yitzumai Shoyim, so to Matan Torah. And the question is, and this question is raised in the Sefer Likutei Ma'amarim Shvilei Pinchas, which is a new volume, but not Tafshin Ayin Hey, it's Tafshin Samaches. They came out with an earlier one in like tiny print. And he asks, what's the deeper meaning of why Moshe Rabbeinu, here the Rebbeinu Shalom says, Moshe, I'm giving you the Torah on Friday. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, we're not going to be ready then. We don't want it on that day. We want it the next day. What was Moshe's kavana that Moshe Rabbeinu pushed off the Nesinas HaTorah until Shabbos? Okay. We go to V'zois HaBracha. Yeah? Vayoy Mahar Hashem Mi Sinai ba. God came from Sinai. Vizarach mi Seir lamai. And he shone from Seir to him. To him means to Klal Yisrael. Hoifia, Rebbeinu Shalom revealed himself. May Har Paran. Where's Har Paran? That's where the Yishmaelim live. V'asa me Rivavais Kodesh. God came from the holy myriads. Miminoi, from his right hand. Eish das lamai, came a fiery law. Right? Why do you do mitzvahs with your right hand? To emulate God. God gave the Torah with his right hand. So you do mitzvahs with your right hand. Says Rashi on the spot, V'zach miseir lamai. Then when the Rebbeinu Shalom wanted to give the Torah to Klal Yisrael, who did he offer it to first? Shepasach livnei seir. He introduced it to Seir. Who's Seir? Esav. Sheikablu satayra. V'lo yiratzu. They didn't want it. Hoifi Alohem. He then revealed Mehar Paran. Shehalach sham. Upasach levnei Yishmael. Sheikablu. And what did the Yishmaelim say? No, thank you. Right? Very interesting. And that's what the Medrash says in Eicha Rabbah. See, the Medrash says in number 8, Parsha Gimel Ois Aleph.
Just those two?
That's all it says. V'zarach miseir lamai, hoifia mehar paran. What about the Chinese? They're not mentioned in the pasuk. Italians, they didn't make it either.
So they can say you didn't ask them.
The Eskimos, they're not in here. Okay? Look at number 8, but we'll get to them. We're going to come back to the Eskimos. Okay? But Chila nigla al b'nei Esav. First Hashem offered it to b'nei Esav. Hadahu d'chsev vayemer Hashem mi Sinai ba v'zarach miseir lamai v'loi kibluach zira al b'nei Yishmael v'loi kibluach hadahu d'chsev v'yfiyah mehar paran all of a soif hachzira al Yisrael. So What you're asking is, don't we know that Rebbeinu Shalom offered the Torah to all the Ummah Yisraelim, and they turned it down, right? The Gemara says in Avodah Zarah on Daf Beis Amud Beis, Vayoymar, Hashem misinai ba v'zarach mitzar lamer chsiv Eloi. Okay, by the way, this is a good opportunity. When you have in Hallel, you can be saying Hallel on Shavuos, Hallel Shalom, right? What? No, so that's what we're here for. That you have to know how to pronounce the word. If you mispronounce one word of Hallel, you're not Yotzei the mitzvah of Hallel. According to the Mishnah Berurah, if you leave out one word of Hallel, you're not Yotzei the mitzvah of Hallel.
Say it over again, you mean?
You have to say it over again, the whole thing. Unless you correct it immediately, right? So now, in Hallel we have Eloka Yaakov. How do you pronounce that word? Well, we know if there's a patach under a ches, you don't say poseicha, you say poseyach. Why? The answer is because it's an exception. The letter ches is a guttural ice, and you first pronounce the nakuda, and then you pronounce the letter. As opposed to every other letter in the aleph base, it's ba, not ab. Right? First you pronounce the letter. Every letter in Lashon HaKodesh, you pronounce the letter, then you pronounce the nakuda. But when it comes to ches, you pronounce the nakuda, and then you pronounce the ches. Poseyach, mizbeach. Right? Ma, so Yeshua si, l'cha na'el l'shabei ach, not cha. Right? So too, with the hey at the end of the word, it's Eloi, and then ah. First the nakuda, and then the ois. But if you say Eloi, and then you say ha, then hopefully you'll get other mitzvahs that day. But Hallel will not be one of them. Okay? Hallel will not be one of them.
No.
Okay? It's Eloi, and then ah. 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 You got it? Like the doctor is about to stick the stick in your mouth, you say ah. It's also a mapik. It's Eloi, and then ah. Ah. The mapik is better. Certainly that's more correct. But if you say ha, then hopefully try to do other mitzvahs that day. Okay. So basically that appears also on the second day of Shavuos. Eloi, and then mi tema an yavai. That's the haftarah of the second day of Shavuos, I believe. So, right? Tefillah lechavakuk hanavi al shigyonos. So the Gemara asks, "My boy b'seir, my boy b'paran." Amar Rabbi Yochanan, "Melamed shechzira Kadosh Baruch Hu al kol umma v'lashay." We see from here the Rebbeinu Shalom took the Torah to all the various nations. V'loy kiblua ad sheba itzel yisavgo. So 1 second. Here the Gemara is saying the Rebbeinu Shalom not only took it to Esav Yisrael, but like you asked before, it says here he took it to the Eskimos, the Italians, the French, not necessarily in that order, but. So how do we reconcile this? Who did he offer the Torah to? Was it only Esav and Yishmael, or was it all the Ummah Yisraelim? The answer is that we have a principle, and the Vilna Gaon in the beginning of Shir HaShiurim enunciates this principle, and that is whenever we see the number 70, there are always two heads. For example, you have Bezdin of 70, but you have the Nasi and you have the Ab Bezdin. You have the 70 Ummah Yisraelim. Who are the two heads of the 70 Ummah Yisraelim? Esav and Yishmael. So when it says God offers the Torah to all the Ummahs, and elsewhere it says, in Rashi and in the Eicha Rabasi, it says only Esav and Yishmael. Esav and Yishmael are representative of all the Ummah Yisraelim. They are the heads of all the Ummah Yisraelim. Says the Torah's Chaim, in Avodah Zarah, should say, Daf Beis Amud Beis. Okay? Says the Torah's Chaim, Melamed shechzira Kadosh Baruch Hu al umma v'lashem l'kibla afagav dekra lo nakat el Esav Yishmael. The pasuk only says Esav Yishmael. Chumash shekasav v'zarach miseir lamai haifia mehar paran v'hasam nami ksiv Eloi. Thank you. Mitemon yavai the kadosh mehar paran. So what's the answer? Says the Torah Chaim, Yeshlomer the shar kol ha'oivdei koichavim mazalois nafgalei miseifa dekra dechsiv. The other nations, they also are included in the pasuk. They're in the pasuk of the Asa Merivos Kodesh. Why does the pasuk only mention these two? Behedya Tvei Mishar Kolav De Kacham Azos Yesh Loimar Mishum Dahanach Tarti Chashivi Mikolav De Kacham Azolos. These are the two most chashiva ones. With chashiv ones like that, you can imagine how chashiv The other ones are, right? But bottom line is, Esav and Yishmael are the two heads of the nations of the world.
Representative.
Yeah? What?
Who made them?
The Rebbeinu Shalom made them. Now, by the way, the Megala Amukos has a wondrous remez. We know by the Bris Bein Abasarim, when Avram Avinu was shown the future Goliath, the pasuk says, "Vayikach lo eskal eleh, vayevater oisam batavech." So Avram Avinu took all of these and he split it in half, and he put the halves opposite each other. V'yes hatzipar loy basar. And Rashi on the spot over there says, who are these karbanos that Avram Avinu split in half? These are the umos ha'olam. V'yes hatzipar loy basar. This represents Klal Yisrael. Says the Heilige Megala Amukos. What is the numerical value of the word Elah? 36. All right. Everyone here? Everyone with me? 36. Aleph is 1, Lamed is 30, Hey is 5. Well, how many Umay Sa'ilim are there? There's 70, headed by Esav and Yishmael. 35 Umays on one side, 35 on the other side. On the top of one set is Esav. On the top of the other set is Yishmael. Anybody know? Is Esav on the right side or is Esav on the left side? It's a good thing you came today. Yishmael is on the right side. Yishmael is on the right side. In general, the right side. Of we'll see. Yishmael is on the right of Klal Yisrael. They're on the right side. Also on the right side of Miyamino DaKadosh Baruch Hu. Esav represents the right side. Why? Yishmael comes from the right side. Yishmael is the son of Abraham. Abraham is Chesed. Chesed is B'Yamina. Esav, son of Yitzchak. Yitzchak is Gevurais, Din. Esav is on the left side. Okay? So you have Elah Barechev. Ve'elah Basvustim. You have the two Elahs, the two 36, 35 and Yishmael, 35 and Esav. And where are Klal Yisrael? Batavech. We're smack in the middle. Says Megala Amukos. Vayikach lo yes kol Elah. Avraham took Elah 36. That represents the 36 Umais on one side, headed by Yishmael, opposite the 36 Umais on the other side. Says Megala Amukos, a wondrous thing. You ever wonder on the calendar how interesting it is that we all keep the Shabbos? The Shabbos is the 7th day. But the Yishmaelim keep Friday. Friday is on the
6th day.
I know that. I know Friday's on the 6th day. Is that the right side? How's that? Well, if you're looking on the calendar, Friday's on the left. But if you are the calendar, from the point of view of the calendar, Fam Shabbos, Friday's on my left, Sunday's on my right. Excuse me? Right? Friday is on the, if you are the calendar, Friday is on the right side, and Sunday is on the left. Yishmael is on the right. Yishmael keeps Friday. They come from the side of the right. Esav keeps Sunday. They comes from the side of the left. What is mevatel, the koyach of the Umay Sa'ilam? The koyach of Shabbos, batavech. So vayiten loy, the pasuk says, vayikach lo yes kol Elah. Avram Avinu took kol Elah, and he was mevater oisam batavech. So here you have Yishmael on the right side keeping their one day off, and Esav is on the left side, their one day off, and we're in the middle. By the way, that's why. Anybody know how many words are in Kiddush? Well, you should know, because they have to be exact. You ever wonder why the words Tchila l'Mikroi Kodesh are in parentheses? Right? Excuse me, Kihu Yaim Tchila are in parentheses. There's certain words in parentheses. Now, most Ashkenazim say them. I believe Sephardim do not. Why? Why are some words in parentheses? The answer is, Al Pi the Zohar HaKadosh, there are 35 words in Vayichulu, and that's for sure. And there are 35 words in Kiddush. Why? Because the koyach of Shabbos is 35 to be Mavatel, Yishmael on the right side, 35 to Mevatel Esav on the left side.
Wow.
But you say, but there's 72, and there are only 70 words in Kiddush. That's what Tikkun Zayah says, you say 2 words, Savri Maranan. But I say V'Rabbanan. Well, now that's a question. What are you doing? Are you allowed to add to the accounted words? So the Ashkenazim, based on the Taz, say that whenever you have a remez of Gematria, if you do more, it's okay. But those who are sticklers for what the Zohar and the Arizal say, do not add 1 extra word to the Kiddush. They say Savri Maranan. L'chaim, l'chaim, right? But the one making Kiddush doesn't say l'chaim. He says Savri Maranan. That's Keneged Esav Yishmael. What? No Rabbi Sai. There are enough Rabbi Sais when you're giving a drasha that you can leave it out in the Kiddush. What?
But I'm looking at the...
The Rabbanim don't say.
Thank you.
Rabbanim don't say. They don't say.
No.
Not
Nusach Svar.
This is.
There you go. Thank you. Savri Moranan. That's it. You don't need more enemies. I'm telling you. You don't need more enemies. Savri Moranan. The Rabbi Sai is, you need more. Okay. Savri Moranan. That's Esav Yishmael. Then Vayichulu. 35 words, you can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Now you know why you say Yom HaShishi quietly. You're not calling anymore. Okay? 35 Vayichulu. Now Ashkenazim throw in Kihu Yom Tchilu. Okay? That's not, we hold like the Taz, you throw in extra words, it's not a problem. You still have the remez in the other words. But those who are, that's the Indian of the words of Kiddush, okay? So what we're learning is that Klal Yisrael is smack in the middle, and it's suggested that through the Kayach of Toisva Shabbos, where you are infringing on beforehand on the day of Yishmael, and afterwards on the day of Esav, it's Mavatal, the Kayach of these respective enemies. Okay.
It's Shabbos. If you have a Hulu Mesa, which part of Kiddush is...
No, it's Keneged. It's Mavatal. 35 words Keneged these enemies, and 35 Keneged those enemies. In fact, the Gemara in Shabbos says on Av Kuf Yud Amud Beis, the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yehuda number 13, Amar Rav, Ilmale Shamru Yisrael Shabbos Rishayna, had Klal Yisrael kept the first Shabbos, Lo Sholta Bahen Uma V'Lashayin, no nation would have any dominion over us. Shenemar, Vayhi Bayayim Hashvi, Yatsu Min Ha'am Lolkait. I was on the 7th day and some people went out to collect. As soon as we're Mechalo Shabbos, Vayovay Amalek. Amalek came. What's the Hemshech? Because we're Mechalo Shabbos, Amalek came. So the Bnei Yissaschar says, very simple. We know the Koyach of Shabbos is Mavatel, our enemies, Esav and Yishmael. So as soon as there's a lax in Shmira Shabbos, that fuels the Kayach of the Ummah Sa'ilam. And in fact, there's Gemara in Bava Kama, number 14, take a look please. The Gemara says there's a common maxim, basically that goes like this. Why does the bad palm tree hang out with the barren trees? Basically, there's a concept that a Rasha hangs out in bad company. Where does that come from? So the Gemara says this is an idea that appears in the Chumash. Where in the Chumash? Esav hangs out with Yishmael. Vayelech Esav el Yishmael. My grandfather used to say many times that when he was in Auschwitz, so the Eichmann, he saw Eichmann. Eichmann invited the Mufti from Jerusalem to join him in Auschwitz, and they would both watch as they would beat Jews. And Eichmann invited the Mufti to gloat with him over. So that's the kiyum of this Indian. Vayelech Esav el Yishmael. Right? So people hang out in bad company. And the Gemara brings the right from the Nevi'im, from the Ksuvim, and from the Mishnayos. The Mishnah says, Kol ha-mechuber l'tamei tamei, and from a Brisa. What's the Brisa? Loi l'chinam halach zarzel eitzer oirev, elam emnei shehu minai. It's like this. A zarzir. Anybody know what a zarzir is? It's a kind of bird. Which bird? A starling. Is a starling kosher? Yes. And no. It's machlokes Tanoim. Rebbe Lezer says it's not. The Chachamim say it is.
Because he's going to the Orov. Orov is not a kosher.
Okay, so the Chachamim say there it's kosher. Says Rebbe Lezer, no, there's no way a zarzir could be kosher. Why? Because the zarzir hangs out with the oirev. So from the fact that it hangs out with the Oirev, it's a raya, the Zarzir is a treifa bird. So Magal Amukay says, well, we're bringing a certain analogy over here. Esav goes to Yishmael, Zarzir goes to the Oirev. Well, says Magal Amukay, Esav is referred to as the Oirev, and the ministering angel of Yishmael is called the Zarzir. Why? Because does anybody know who the Malach of Yishmael is? We're going to see very soon. The Malach of Yishmael is Rahav. The Gematria of Rahav is 207. The Gematria of Zer is 207. So therefore the Malach appointed over Yishmael is Rahav, also referred to as Zarzir. So, says the Megala Amukos, the angel or the Klipa of Esav is the Oirev, the raven, and the Klipa of Yishmael is the Zarzir. Well, says the Bnei Yissaschar, if you add up the numerical value of Zarzir and Oirev, Shabbos. The numerical value of Zarzir and Oirev is Shabbos. Why? What's the significance of that? Like we learned earlier from the Megala Amukos, that if 36 umais on one side, 36 on the other, how are we mevatel the koyach of the umais ha'olam through the koyach of Shabbos, which is ba'tavech, which is in the middle? So therefore the gematria of Shabbos is Zarzir and Oirev, the koyachos of these two umais ha'olam. Of these two umais ha'olam. And therefore, says the Bnei Yissaschar, now we understand. If Klal Yisrael were to keep just one Shabbos properly, no Ummah would have dominion over us, because the koyach of Shabbos would be mevatel the koyachos of the Ummahs ha'olam. Okay, Rabbi Say? This is only by way of introduction. Now I would like to share with you the Toras Chaim. Toras Chaim was Rabbi Avram Chaim Shor, who was the Rav in many places in Europe, in Belz, in Kremenetz, in Satanov, and he was a descendant of the Bali Toisvis, Rav Yosef Bechar Shar, and he's one of the great Kadmonim, one of the early Achronim, passed away in 1632, on the 9th day of Teves. He had two brothers. One was Ephraim Zalman Shor, who wrote the Tvuei Shar, but not the well-known one. He had another brother, Shmuel Shor, who was the great-grandfather of Alexander Sender Shor, the author of the famous Tvuei Shar on Hilchos Shchita. And Rabbi Ephraim Zalman Margolis was from this illustrious family. And he offers to us, Rabbi Isai, an unbelievable explanation in what exactly were the two crowns of Har Sinai, where did they come from, where did they go, and why we needed double the amount of malachim to take them away as that put it on our head. And all of this he bases on the Zohar HaKadosh in Parshas Balak, which he quotes word for word, and I would like to read it to you, to read it together with you. The Chida writes, it's good to read the Zohar, it's good for your neshama, even if you don't understand what it means. But we'll see, this is the most descriptive account of the giving of the Torah, and something we should all be aware of. Okay? So please look in number 17. This is the Zohar HaKadosh in Parshas Balak. Now, much of the Zohar HaKadosh in Parshas Balak is recording of questions that a Yenuka, that a child asked Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. So here we have a question that a certain child asked Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Okay, we're going to go through it quickly. Tachazi, come and see. Right, in Shas Bavli it says what? Tashma. In Yushalmi it always says Tachazi, come and see. And there's a reason for that. The Darga of Bavli is Shmiya, the Darga of Yushalmi is Re'iyah. Okay? The Zohar also says Tachazi. Ksiv, Hashem b'tzeis chamiseir, b'tzad chamistei edom eretz rasha. B'shaita deba kutchabrich l'mei avayra'isili. So when Hashem wanted to give the Torah to Klal Yisrael, Ozav v'zamen l'levnei Esav, he went and invited the children of Esav, like kibluhu, and they didn't accept it. Kida amar Hashem yisinai ba'v'zarch miseir lamai. Ozav l'vnei Yishmael, he went to the Yishmael, v'loy by l'kabla, v'chsiv ha'ifiyah mehar paran. Comes the Yenuka and asks the question that we all should have asked. What do you mean, Hashem mi Sinai ba v'zarach mi seir lamai ha'ifiyah mehar paran? God didn't come mi seir. God didn't come from Seir. He went to Seir. Hashem didn't come Mehar Paran. He went, he offered it Lehar Paran. Why does it say Mi Seir? Why does it say Mehar Paran? Just the opposite. If you want to say God is offering something to, you say Le. And this is what this kid is bothered by, and this is what you should have been bothered by.
I was bothered.
And you were bothered by her. Okay. And in Ois Kuf Lamites, Hashta Isli L'Sheila. The kid says, I have a question. V'ataninan, we learned, the less chata, there's no sin. Kad barnash medakdik, that you can direct. There's no sin if you want to examine psukim, v'yishal she'elto lanhara miloy, and ask questions to illuminate it. And the kid says, Haikrola is yashava. The pasuk is not explained. V'is l'sheila, I have a question. Kud shabrichel kad ozol l'seir, when God went to Seir. Number one, Laman Neviya Dilhoin Iskali. To which prophets did he reveal it to? What does it mean God went to Esav? To which guy, exactly, which prophet did God give it to? Did he offer it to? V'chad Ozal Paran, when he went to Paran, Laman Neviya Dilhoin Iskali. Which one of their prophets did he offer it to? He went to all of them. No. It's impossible that God offered it to the whole nation. We don't find such a thing. Barli Yisrael b'chaydayu, except for Klal Yisrael. V'ayidei de Moshe. And v'oid, you could stick in the word v'oid in your Zohar. You have to know where to put in the word v'oid. V'oid, another question he asked. I have a question. This is what the pasuk should have said. Hashem l'Sinai ba v'zarach l'seir lamai hoifia le'ar paran. What? Mahu miseir. Mahu me'ar paran. Kula islam inda l'stakal. We have to know this. We have to look into it. This is a question. I don't know the answer. Kados Rab Shimon, when Shimon came, also v'shal mila kil kadman. The kid asked again, Amalei Hoshe Elta Dad is Tamrat. Your question has an answer. And the answer is, Hashem misinai ba, kida amar, hine anoichi ba elecha, be'av he'anan, u'misinai ba, ve'iskali alayu, ve'zarach miseir lamai. What does this mean? Okay, Rabbi, so you ready? Mimada amru b'nei seir. When it says the b'nei seir, d'loi ba'in lekabala, they didn't want to accept it. Mehai, from God. In har loin li Yisrael, they began to illuminate for Klal Yisrael. V'oisif alayu nahira, and they added light. V'chavivu sagya, and it was very beloved to them. V'oif hachi. Also, haifia ve'anhar li Yisrael mehar paran, the Yishmaelim illuminated for us. Mimada amru b'nei paran, because the Yishmaelim d'loi ba'in lekabala. From there, mehayo sifu Yisrael chavivu unehiru yater kidikayas. Says the Zohar, when the people of Bnei Esav and the Bnei Yishmael refused to accept the Torah, they then began to give light to the Jewish people. What does this mean? He explains. Look in Ois Kuf Mem Aleph. The Zohar continues. Umad shalt al yada demanis galeala. You want to know to who did God give it? Right? We asked, which Navi did he give it to? The answer is, and I translate, this is a great secret, and you will reveal the secret. The Torah emanated from the supreme secret, from the head of the king. What that means, that's beyond the scope of today's shiur. Then the Zohar continues. Kadmata legabe dera smaila. When God came to his left arm, who's the left arm of God? Esav. That's the left side. Hashem saw in that arm, that's the side of Gevuros, of Din. He saw bad blood. He said, I need to remove this bad blood, and if I don't downgrade it, it's going to destroy everybody. I need to clean it. I need to cleanse it. Ois kuf mem beis. Ma'ovid, what did he do? Kara l'samach mem. So God called the samach mem. Who's the samach mem? The angel of Esav. And he said, V'asa kamei, so the Samach Mem comes to him, Amarlei, Tibayir Isa Dili, God says, you want my Torah? So he says, the Sorry Shalesav says, what does it say in the Torah? The Rebbe Shalom skipped over everything. He skipped over Parshas Bereshis, Nayach, Lech, Zip. It says Leisertzach. Why did God go to Leisertzach? The only reason he's offering it to the Sorry Shalesav is he wants to mitigate, he wants to minimize the damage that the Bnei Esav will do. So he tells them what they need to hear. Rebbe Shalom says, it says Leisertzach. So the Bnei Esav says, Chas v'shalom. If it says Leisertzach, He says, Rebbeinu Shalom, this is your Torah. It belongs to you. We don't want the Torah. And it began to plead before God. He said, Rebbeinu Shalom, if you give us the Torah, we'll have no power in this world. All of our power comes from murder. We're not going to have dominion. Our koyach of Esav comes from the Mazel Madim. And therefore, we're going to lose everything. And look in Ois Kuf Mem Gimel, says the Bnei Esav, why don't you take your Torah? We don't want to have anything to do with it. But we have a great idea. Avalinicha kamach, if it pleases you, God. The sons of Yaakov, they're fit for the Torah. Now the Bnei Esav thought that if God would give us the Torah, we wouldn't be able to keep it, and God would have to destroy us. This is the meaning of Vizarach Miseir Lamai. You ready for this? The Samach Mem said, if the Bnei Yaakov accept the Torah, they'll be removed from this world, and they'll have no dominion. God asked the Bnei Esav many times, just take it, just take it, just take it. So the Bnei Esav, God said, you're the Bechar Esav, you're the firstborn, you're fit to accept the Torah. So Esav said, no, I sold my birthright to Yaakov, and I was moided to him. So Hashem said, you don't want the Torah, you need to formally sign off that you have no shaykhs to the Torah. And they did so. Then the Rebbeinu Shalom said, Esav, since you're the Bechar, I need your advice. Please give me advice. Havli ita, Ois Kuf Mem Dalet. What should I do to persuade Klal Yisrael to accept the Torah? So Esav says, Marei Da'alma, master of the world. You know how it works in this world. The only way you could convince anybody of anything is you have to bribe them. It's tzrich l'shachtolan. You have to bribe them. Why don't you take all of my light and all of my illumination and all the illumination that gives me kayach from the tzvayis hashemayim and give it to Yaakov Avinu, and this way you'll be able to persuade them to accept the Torah. So God strips Esav of all of its grandeur and all of its majesty and all of its light, and He gives it to Klal Yisrael. This is the meaning, V'zarach Miseir. V'zarach Miseir means that because Hashem asked Esav for advice of how to give the Torah to Klal Yisrael, Esav says, why don't you give them all that we got? Everything that I have, Esav says, all the light that I have, why don't you shine it on Klal Yisrael? This is the meaning of V'zarach Miseir Lamai. Now, God had already successfully mitigated Esav as much as Rebbeinu Shalom wanted to. So just imagine what Esav would have been like had God not stripped him of his kayach. Okay. Now God goes to his right side. Who's on the right side? Yishmael. He needs to cleanse out the Yishmaelim. Who's the Malach of Yishmael? We learned it maybe 5 minutes ago. Who's the Malach of Yishmael? Rahav, the Zarzir, 207. He said, you want my Torah? So God says, Rebbeinu Shalom says, you want my Torah? Yishmael says, what does it say in it? Rebbeinu Shalom skips to Loisinaf. Oy vay, the Yishmaelim say. Loisinaf. Our whole Yerusha is based on Loisinaf. Why? You ever right? The Gemara says there are 10 kavim of znus that came down to the world. Yishmaelim took 9 of them. Why? Because the bracha of Yishmael, what bracha did Yishmael got? V'hifreisi oisai v'herbeisi oisai. The bracha of Pru Ravu. The bracha of Pru Ravu is the bracha of fish, of mayim. Pere Adam is a lashon of Pru Ravu. They excel in this inyan. The Yishmaelim, there's one thing, they're very good in this inyan of Zanus and Loisinaf. That's their whole kayach. And the Yishmaelim, who come on the right side, by the way, why the right? The right side is Chesed, and Zanus is a perversion of Chesed. That's why it says in the Parsha of Arayas, don't marry your sister, Chesed who? Really? It's a Chesed to marry your sister, huh? What's the pshat? It's a perversion. Chesed is Zanus is a perversion of Chesed. It's taking Chesed to a deviation. So Yishmael said, I don't want the Torah. I don't want it. So Hashem said, you know what, Yishmael, but what am I going to do? Who am I going to offer it to? You're the Bechar. He said, give it to the Jews. Give it to Yitzchak. Give it to Yitzchak. Rebbeinu Shalom says they're never going to accept it. What should I do to persuade them to accept the Torah? Yishmael said, take away some of my light and give it to them. Bribe them with my light. Hadahu d'chsiv hoifia mehar paran, not lehar paran. God took from the Yishmaelim, and the Yishmaelim shone forth onto Klal Yisrael their light. Says the Zohar in Ois Kuf Mem Ches, Kivan denata matan ileim Yisrael. Klal Yisrael took this light, and then God took from all the Ummah Yisraelim other gifts for Klal Yisrael. Says the Zohar in Kuf Nun Aleph, Taf Ches. What does that stand for? Tachazi, come and see. Ed Yom Divnei Yisrael. What is the jewelry of Klal Yisrael? These are the matanos. The matanos that the Ummah Yisraelim gave us. What are the matanos? The light of Esav and the light of Yishmael. But when we sinned with the Egel, what does the pasuk say? Vayisnatzlu b'nei Yisrael ed Yom. We were stripped of our light. Okay, so now this is very important to know. What was the jewelry of Klal Yisrael? The light given by Esav, V'zarach miseir lamai, the light given by Yishmael, Hoifia mehar paran. When did we lose the light? By the Chet Egel. Where does it say we lost the light? By Yisnatzlu es edyam. That's very strange. Because doesn't the Gemara say that God gave us crowns when we said Nasa v'nishma, and by the Chet Egel we were stripped of those crowns? And it uses the same pasuk of Vayisnatzlu b'nei Yisrael es edyam. Look at number 18. Amar Rabbi Chama, B'Rabbi Chanina, B'chayrev ta'anu, B'chayrev parku. At Har Sinai we were given crowns. At Har Sinai the crowns were taken away. Ta'anu, we were given crowns like we just learned. And B'chayrev parku, D'chsiv Vayisnatzlu b'nei Yisrael. By the way, the Gemara says, Moshe Rabbeinu then got all the crowns, like the pasuk says. U'Moshe yikach es ha'oyel. But la'asalavi, we're going to get them back. Comes along the Toras Chaim, and he says, Adavar oyam v'noira. Says the Toras Chaim, after he quotes this whole Zohar that we were Zohar to read, he says it's mashma that these two angels, the Samach Mem and Rahav, they are the leaders of Esav and Yishmael. Rahav is on which side? The right side. Samach Mem is on the left side. Which side did God go to first?
The left side.
The left side. He offered it to Esav first. And then he went to Yishmael. And even though all the Ummahs gave us matanos, the main matanos was the light that we only find regarding Esav and Yishmael. Says the Toras Chaim, why does Hashem first go to Seir and then go to Yishmael? After all, Yishmael was older than Esav. Well, he says, throughout history, who was our biggest mekatreg? The Samach Mem. He's the Malach HaMaves. He's the Yetzer Hara. He's the Samach Mem himself. So therefore, he needed to be put down more, and therefore the Rebbeinu Shalom mitigates him first, and then mitigates the Sarai of Yishmael. Klal Yisrael knew a secret, and the secret was that before the Torah was offered to them, God first came not to offer the Torah like people think. God offered the Torah to the Ummah Yisraelim. Chas v'shalom. God never offered the Torah to the Ummah Yisraelim. God used the Torah to, if we could use the expression, to like cut off to be mesaris the Ummah Yisraelim, to remove their kayach through the Torah. And first he went to Yishmael. First he went to, Esav, and then he went to Yishmael. Well, Esav, Klal Yisrael knew. What is Esav? What does the word Esav mean? Asoy. The Rashbam says, why was he called Esav? He's Asoy. Ayin Sin Vav Yud. He's made already. He's done. So what happened to the Yud? So we once said, Yaakov was called Yaakov because of Akev, but he's missing a Yud. He took the Yud that's at the tail end of Esav, Ayin Sin Vav Yud, and he chapped the Yud for Akev and made Yaakov. That's Megal Mukha says elsewhere. Esav is a lashon of Naseh. Yishmael is Kishama Hashem B'Kol Hanar. Yishmael is Shmiya, Nishma. The Koyach of Esav is the Koyach of Asiyah. The Koyach of Yishmael is the Koyach of Shmiya. Yishmael, Kishama Hashem. The secret of Naseh and Nishma is we usurped the koyach of Esav, and we usurped the koyach of Yishmael. And we said Naseh, that's the koyach of Esav, and we said Nishma, that's the koyach of Yishmael. Says the Toras Chaim, B'nireh, the Yisrael Yadu Ahu Raza. Klal Yisrael knew the secret that Hashem first offered the Torah to Esav, and then offered it to Yishmael. And therefore, when Hashem offers us the Torah, what does Klal Yisrael say? They're merames to this. We are now going to be not only Klal Yisrael, we're going to be whatever Esav was supposed to be, ba'olam hazeh. God created Ummos. They had a role, but they lost it. They lost whatever mission they had in this world. Klal Yisrael usurped the koyach of Esav when they said Naseh. Klal Yisrael usurped the koyach of Yishmael when they said Nishma. Says the Toras Chaim, the Rebbeinu Shem has revealed to me a big side. There is no coincidence that if the Zohar says in Ois Kufnan Aleph that the jewelry of Klal Yisrael were the light of Esav and Yishmael, and that light was stripped from them when? By the Chedo Egel. And the Zohar even says, where was it stripped from them in the Pasuk by Yisnatzlu as Edyam? And the Gemara says their jewelry was what? Nasev and Ishma. And that was stripped from them when? Also by the Chedo Egel. These are not two different things. One the light of Esav and Yishmael, and one the crowns of Nasev and Ishma. It's the same thing. The crown of Naseh is the light that we took from Esav. Asiya, Naseh. The crown of Nishma is the Hoifia Mehar Paran, the light we took from Yishmael. Naseh was V'zarach Miseir Lamoy. Nishma is Hoifia Mehar Paran. Unbelievable. Mamish Oyam V'nayra. That's the secret of Naseh and Nishma. That Klal Yisrael now became all three. It was going to be there's an Esav on the left side, there's Yishmael on the right side, and Klal Yisrael in the middle. No! Now we're all three. We're Naseh, we're whatever Esav, whatever redeeming quality Esav had, we stole it. V'zarach miseir lamai, not liseir, miseir. Hoifia mehar paran, whatever Yishmael was supposed to be, we're it. This is the big chiddush of the Toras Chaim. Astounding chiddush of the Toras Chaim. Naseh is milashon Esav, Nishma is milashon Yishmael. By the way, anybody else say this? The Vilna Gaon in his second commentary to V'zoi Sabracha, he says in Adaras Eliyahu, Kisharatza Kosh Baruch Hu, lead number 21, Litein Tarli Yisrael, Hechzira Kol Uma V'Lashain, Ubal Yishmael. What does it say? Lo Sinaf. V'kulam Nazmah. They all give matanis. Dahainu Esav Yishmael. What they give us? V'nasnu lohem Asiya V'Shmiya. The Koyach Asiya. Everybody knows the builders of the world, Western civilization. That's the Koyach of Esav. The Koyach of Shmiya. Kishama Hashem B'Kol Anar. Klal Yisrael took that as well. The Shlach Kadosh says also, Hareshi Yisrael Kiblu Nevizbizan Misari Umes Klal Yisrael accepted treasures from the nations of the world. That this, whatever gifts, whatever segulais these nations of the world were supposed to have, it's v'yisem li segula mikol ha'amim. From the segulais of the nations of the world, we took it for ourselves. Comes the Arizal, Nashar Kavonis, and he says on the words in davening, Yismach Moshe b'matnas chalkoi ki even neman karasaloi. We just saw that the light that we were offered by Esav and Yishmael, we lost it by the Chedo Egel, but Moshe Rabbeinu got it. Moshe Rabbeinu got the light and the crowns and the jewelry. Where is this alluded to? Well, anybody knows in the first pasuk of Vayikra, you know that there's one letter that's a little different? The Aleph Ze'ira. Okay, that you know. Anybody ever open up a sefer called Divrei Hayamim?
Chronicles.
Right? Chronicles? So you didn't even have to get past the first pasuk. You didn't even have to get past the first word. And you know, what's the first word? Adam. Adam. That word Adam is, the Aleph is spelled big, but not just big, it's the biggest letter in all of Tanakh. Why? Says the Arizal that at Kabbalas HaTorah, when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai, he got 1,000 levels of light, which is alluded to in the big Aleph, the Elef Rabasi of Sefer Devrei Hayamim. But when Klal Yisrael sinned at the Egel, it was removed from him, and he was left with 1,000th of that, and that is alluded to in the small Aleph of Vayikra. But it wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu's fault that he lost it, it was Klal Yisrael's fault. So therefore, every Shabbos, because Klal Yisrael was Vayisnatzlu b'nei Yisrael's Edya mehar chorev, Moshe Rabbeinu gets all the light of Klal Yisrael. So you say, good for him, what's that going to do for us? Well, you see, Moshe Rabbeinu, he's such a swell guy. He's such a tzaddik. He's such an Even Eman, that after the Rebbeinu Shalom is machzer to him 1,000 times all the oil that Klal Yisrael lost, guess what Moshe Rabbeinu does? He gives it back to us. Every Shabbos, when Moshe Rabbeinu gets the oil of Matan Torah, which we said, according to the Toras Chaim, what is the oil of Matan Torah? It's the two crowns. The light of Esav, Zarach Miseir Lamai, and the light of Yishmael, Haifiyah Mehar Paran. Moshe Rabbeinu takes the light, and after all, it really belongs to him. Because it's not his fault that he lost it, it's our fault that we lost it. So why should he give it back to us? It doesn't belong to us. He lost it unfairly, we could say, and Klal Yisrael deserved to lose it. But Moshe Rabbeinu is such an Even Eman, he doesn't think like that. He doesn't make these cheshbonos. Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm the Raya Mehemna, I'm the faithful shepherd of Klal Yisrael. If I get the light back, I'm going to share it back with Klal Yisrael. See, it comes out that every single Shabbos, you get to wear two crowns. The crown of Nasa and the crown of Nishma. Where do you get it from? From Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu gets it back, but he doesn't hold it for himself. He gives it to everybody. This is the meaning of the davening. Yismach Moshe b'matnas chelkai. Let Moshe rejoice with his gift, but especially because ki Even Eman karasai. He's such a faithful Eved that he gives it to all of Klal Yisrael. Why do you think Shabbos is the day that we get our crowns back? Anybody could think, perhaps, why we get our crowns back on Shabbos? Very simply. Where do we get the crowns from? From Esav and from Yishmael. What's Mevatel, the koyach of Esav and Yishmael? Esav is 36 on one side, Yishmael is 36 on the other side. The Oirev and the Zarzer, the Gematria Shabbos. Shabbos, the Megala Mukha says, is between Esav and Yishmael. Esav is on the left side on Sunday, Yishmael is on the right side on Friday. Shabbos is Mevatel, the koyach of Esav and Yishmael. That's why we have 70 words in Kiddush, 35 in Vayichulu, 35 in the Bracha. You have 2 words, Savri Maranan, Keneged Esav Yishmael. It's Mevatel, the koyach of Esav Yishmael. Memela, through the koyach of Shabbos, we restore the glory of Har Sinai. Therefore, it's suggested in the Sefer Likutei Ma'amarim that was perhaps the cheshbon of Moshe Rabbeinu, why he dafka wanted to push off the Nesinas HaTorah to Shabbos. Because Moshe Rabbeinu knew the Torah we're getting regardless. God's not offering the Torah to Esav and Yishmael. But there are certain side benefits that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted Klal Yisrael to have. What is that? He wanted the V'zarach Miseir Lamai, the light of Esav. He wanted the Haifiyah Mehar Paran, the light of Yishmael. And Moshe Rabbeinu knew what will give us, what will gain for us the light of the Umay Sa'olam. It's through the koyach of Shabbos, which V'loi nesatay Hashem Elokeinu l'goy ha'arotzos V'loi nchalta malkeinu lo'idei psilim V'gam b'mnuchasa lo yishkenu ha'reilim. It's only through the koyach of Shabbos. We're mevatel the Zarzir, we're mevatel Yishmael, we're mevatel the Oirev. It's Vayit vayikach lo yiskol eile Vayevaser oisam b'toveh. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu was Hoysef Yom Echad Midaitai. He said, Rebbeinu Shalom, we don't just want the Torah. We want the great light. We don't want Esav to have any koyach in this world. We don't want them to have any important role in this world. We don't want Yishmael to have any important role in this world. So let's just add 2 things, very briefly. What exactly is the koyach of Esav? What is the light of Esav that we're taking from him? What exactly is the light of Yishmael that we're taking from him? And amazingly, the Netziv in V'zos HaBracha, on the pasuk of Hashem Sinai, bar number 25, says in Netziv, we know al shloisha dvarim ha'olam oimed, al ha'toira, al ha'avoida, al gemilas chasadim. Which is the most important amud? Torah. But avoida and gemilas chasadim is also important. Well, originally, guess who was going to be the amud of gemilas chasadim? The oldest son of Abraham, Ishmael, from the right side, Midas HaChesed, Rav, Midas HaChesed. Yishmael, who would have more opportunity to learn Midas HaChesed than Yishmael? He was going to be Midas HaChesed Ba'olam. And who is going to be Avoida? Who's the best teacher of Avoida? Yitzchak. Who's the Bechor of Yitzchak? Esav. Esav is going to be the Amud of Avoida. And we even see, it says in Netziv, that until Kabbalas HaTorah, Avoida Ba'olam was in the hands of the Bnei Esav. The Umais Ha'olam, their priests, their clergymen. And Gemilas Chasadim and Chesed, that would have been in the hands of Yishmael. But when they rejected the Torah, they lost all their light. V'zarach miseir lamai, we took the Amud of Avoida. Haifiyah mehar paran, we took the Amud of Chesed. The Umay Sa'alim have no light. There's Chachma in the Goyim Tamin. But if there's Tzidkus in the Goyim, Al Tamin. There's nothing. Maybe they have some mathematics, some science. But they don't have any of the Amudei Olam. They have nothing that the world stands on. And when they refused the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu, through his Chachma, he devised that the Torah should be pushed off to Shabbos. We're Mavatel the Koyach of Esav. We're Mavatel the Koyach of Yishmael. And very interestingly, the Shem Yishmael brings down from Rav David Milalov on the pasuk V'yisem li segula. He said the word segula is like the Nakuda segal. The segal, whatever way you turn it, it's the same segal. That's what he says. So in this sefer, he says another. The segal is what? 3. At first, Klal Yisrael was only going to be the Amud HaTorah. Esav would still have his Amud HaAvodah. Yishmael would have his Amud Chesed. But now that they refused it, V'zarach miseir lamai, Haifiyah mehar paran, V'yisem li segula, you're going to be the segal. You'll have all 3 Amudim. You'll have the Amud HaTorah, the Amud HaChesed, and Amud HaAvodah, and it is only on Klal Yisrael sheha'olam oimed. And now we understand why we need double as many malachim to take the crowns away as malachim who gave us the crowns. You see, at first, where did the crowns come from? This was the light from Esav and Yishmael. They didn't offer it willingly. The Rebbeinu Shalom had to convince them to give it to us. So what happened was, 600,000 malachim came and took a little bit of light from Esav, a little bit of light from Yishmael, and put it on the head of every Jew. These are the 2 crowns of Nasav and Ishma. But once Klal Yisrael sinned at the Egel, and we lost our crowns, the Rebbeinu Shalom says, I'm not going to take the crowns away myself, you do the dirty work. So Esav and Yishmael, each one had to come separately to each Yid. Esav took back the light from one, Yishmael took back the light from one, and you needed double as many malachim to take away the crowns as the ones that put it on. But every year at Kabbalas HaTorah, especially this year where our Kabbalas HaTorah is right after Shabbos, so once anyway, the Rebbeinu Shalom, through Moshe Rabbeinu, gives us back our great light and our great crowns. Maybe we could keep it a little bit longer for the Yom Tov of Shavuos, and we should be zoicha that in the future, the day should come where the Rebbeinu Shalom returns to us all of the light and all of the crowns. B'vi'askal tzedek m'her v'yameinu amen.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.